Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for coming by to chat with me today. We have survived another weekend, hopefully of sewing. I say survived in a positive way. That is, maybe we got a lot done and we're happy with ourselves. We might be a little bit tired, but we survived. Yeah, I have been working on this barn star thing this weekend. Y'all saw on Friday's Finish It Friday, I had one of those giant blocks done. I think it was this one here. And there's two of them in this quilt, so I did get another one finished. I'll just go ahead and show you because I'm going to talk about this pattern. This is the one that I got done that you've seen, and then the other one, it's supposed to be identical, but I had to change out one of my fabrics because I didn't have enough. See that green floral where there's 4 triangle pieces there close to the center? Well, those star points coming off of those is just a green dot, whereas the other one has the same green. But I don't think it's going to make any difference. I mean, everything else is the same. I'm not going to be able to show you both of them at the same time, am I? So I got this one done this weekend, and I felt like I worked all day Saturday on that. Like 8 hours. No, I didn't spend 8 hours working on a block, but in and out of doing other things, I finally got it done. So that kind of spurred me on to go ahead and get going on block 2. And somebody did correct me last week when I was talking about this, how that this is not a weekly sew along from Fat Quarter Shop. It's a monthly. So those 2 blocks I just got done would have been for January. So now I'm kind of anxious to get going on February's block 2, and there's 2 of those. So it is this one right here. There's 2 of those, and it's in the raspberry and gold and white family. So I don't have raspberry per se, but I do have this kind of berry over here. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but some of us have some Felicity fabrics collected up, and they're from all different collections that they've had, but they all coordinate together pretty well. They're just kind of very, very basic quilty looking patterns that you can interchange with each other. So I think it's going to make a nice quilt. I'm using this Riley Blake, it's called Putty, and it's probably not going to come across correctly, the color on the camera there, but it's kind of a creamy off-white. I thought it was going to be just a little bit more of a grayish cream, if that's even possible, with the name Putty, but I got it from So Yeah, so you never know exactly what you're going to get until it comes to you when you order online, right? So it's fine. It coordinates really well with everything. I guess it does kind of have a little bit of a grayish tint to it, not much, but it's mostly a cream. And some other things I want to mention about this pattern for this quilt. This whole book is this one quilt. There's multiple blocks for each one. Like the first one was 2 blocks. The second block is 2 blocks, and there's some that are 3 and 4 multiples. And the amount of fabric that they want you to get for this quilt is way out of whack. I mean, I'm not saying it's a mistake, but if you add all of this up, all of the fabric requirements that's there, it's like 23 yards plus of fabric. Well, there's no quilt so big in this world that has 23 23 yards of fabric in it. So it has to do with how you cut it and everything. But, you know, if you're, what's the word I'm looking for? If you're cautious about how you cut your fabric, you can get a lot more out of it than they usually ask. And I'm just kind of going a little bit by the color suggestions on here to kind of get the right light, medium, and dark in each star, in each block. So, you know, you can go off and use any kind of fabric selection you have, or even from your stash. I think you can just kind of, you can cobble this together, is what I'm trying to say, and it would still look good. So just because, you know, those fat quarter bundles are out there for the purpose of having a quilt that has a really structurally color-coded kind of look to it, you don't have to do that. But I just happen to have a bunch of these. And since this called for so much fabric, I think I can make this work. And I've got some that are yardage, like, you know, full yards. I think I have one that's a 2-yard piece. So I'm gonna go with this and hope that I have enough fabric for it. If I have to order some more fabric, I guess I will. But more than likely, I'll be able to pull something from my stash that will fill in where I'm lacking. So don't let this book intimidate you. Just do things your own normal, usual way you usually do them, because yeah, I just can't really get over what they're calling for on this. Another thing is it's each one of the blocks. If you're just starting this, if you've been going along on the sew along since January, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know, but the cutting for each block is for one of those blocks. So if you decide to go ahead and cut for 2 blocks, you got to double the cutting for each one of them. And it does say that, cutting for 1 block. The instructions yield pieces needed to make 1 block. One caution that I have for you on that is if you accidentally cut something wrong, you've cut it wrong for both blocks. Or if you go to sewing and you're chain sewing those pieces together and you've got one side the wrong direction, you're going to sew for 2 blocks the wrong direction. So my suggestion to you is to just cut for 1 and build 1 block at a time, even though they're identical. But you do however you want to do. Maybe you're not as accident prone as I am with sewing things wrong, but those are some things that I'm noticing so far with this sew along. So I hope that helps you if you're just getting started on this Barnstar Sampler sew along. But I think it's gonna turn out a nice quilt when it's done. So I'm gonna keep going, work on it every week as much as I can to get caught up to the current month, and after that I don't know if I'll just do it, you know, what's called for each month, or just continue to work ahead on it. I don't really know. I'm kind of looking at it right now as an ongoing project that I want to get done. But if I get a lot of other things in the queue to work on, apart from what I already have that I'm working on, then I might just do whatever's required for that month. So this is the next block that I'm gonna do. Got it all ready, cut out to do, so I'll do that. And then I've been working on my plan for this week. I have everything down that I need to do and allotted myself a certain amount of time to get back to the kaleidoscope quilt, and then the landscape quilt, and also the cactus pot on point quilt. We'll be having some cutting instructions in video form this week on Wednesday for that. So if you haven't printed off your pattern yet and you want to, go ahead into the description box of the part 1 video and get those printed off so you can use those to get your cuts going. One of you at least has revealed that you're in the test block phase, and you've already made a test block, so that makes me excited. I'm like, oh, they're already getting ahead of me. So I'm anxious to get going on those too. So I'll get all of my fabric. I think we'll go ahead and cut all the fabric out for that quilt this week on the part 2 video for Wednesday. And then yeah, that's what I got going on this week. Oh, the quilt of the week is called Enraptured. It says this is by Wendy Annen from Wisconsin, 37 by 54. It is 37 by 54. Wendy's original design began when she crunched up folded paper in a bouquet shape and took photos of it. Photos of the begonias in her yard added to her inspiration. She made stencils of famous sonnets, sewing letters onto her quilt and adding ink accents. A floral texture was free motion quilted by Wendy to complete the emphasis on flowers. Enraptured was included in the Sakura Fine Arts exhibition at the Trout Museum of Art in Appleton, Wisconsin. So yeah, you can see in her bouquet there the paper and how it looks like newsprint. She said she used sonnets, love letters, type themed paper as an idea there, and begonias from her yard. Very, very, very talented lady. Lots of very intricate quilting on there too, free motion quilting. That gives a lot of definition and depth and texture to the project. So on those artsy kinds of quilts, the more thread you throw on there, the better it's going to look. I'm not an artist, but I do know that. I got a couple magazines. I got the American Quilter, and then I got the American Patchwork and Quilting. And in the American Quilter, there is an article, Did You Know? And it's talking about Baltimore quilts, Baltimore album quilts. You've probably heard of that. If not, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to read one little paragraph here. Well, maybe two. Quickly, stay with me. Baltimore album quilts. The term Baltimore album quilt refers to a group of large and elaborate quilts made in a distinctive style from about 1845 to 1855. Just 10 years. These quilts were made in the Baltimore, Maryland region and southern Pennsylvania. They have large blocks of complex applique designs, including vases, baskets, and cornucopia containing elaborate arrangements of flowers and fruit. Also depicted were sailing ships, patriotic symbols, war memorials, public buildings, and local heroes. The earliest Baltimore album quilts include the most complicated designs. A 16-inch block might have as many as 70 applique pieces. Details were added with inking and embroidery, and sometimes flowers were padded to create three-dimensionality. Doesn't look like anything I want to get into anytime soon, but you can see in some of those designs there, see the ship down there on the bottom row? And all the different blocks have lots of floral themed pieces to them. That is a Baltimore album quilt. There's a little more detail here about it, but I won't bore you with my reading. Here's one up close of a tree. That's a block right there. Actually, that is not a tree. That is a bleeding heart plant, I think. And that's about how they look, because I have a bleeding heart plant in my yard. There's another quilt right there. Very intricate. Very, very intricate. I don't think there were any patterns in here I wanted to share. If you ever want to get this magazine, oh, here's a quilt that I saw at last year's the Paducah show. This Rondo, it's called Rondo. That was at that show, so it's showing up at other shows because I think they're highlighting a different area. Daytona Beach, Florida show. Isn't that pretty? I think that's one of the prettiest quilts that I saw in Paducah. But yeah, and I am going again this year. We're going to take our camper and camp about 30 minutes away, and I'm going to spend at least one day at the quilt show in Paducah. So I'm excited to get back there. Oh, but what I was going to tell you is if you want to get a membership to the American Quilt Society, American Quilter Society, it's $25 for a year. And they have other rates too. If you want to pay, more years, it gets cheaper with each increment. And then the American Patchwork and Quilting, there were a couple things in here I wanted to share with you. Let's see. Do you all have any magazine subscriptions you enjoy? I think this is the best one in my opinion. American Patchwork and Quilting. Let's see, where is it? It was a juicy one. Juicy in that looking at the fabric makes my mouth water. Isn't that pretty? That's out of Batiks. Very pretty. Heat Wave, it's called Heat Wave. I like that. Nice big star. And then there was another little instructions for some small items. There's like these little shallow baskets, and then there's a Velcro, fabric Velcro tie-up for your cords, and then a little thread catcher type thing that you can make for the bed of your sewing machine. But I thought this would be kind of cute to make and have sitting around to corral some of those items that like to roll off of your table. It just uses two 10-inch squares, and it looks fairly easy. For some reason it's asking for 1/3 of a yard of binding. I don't know if that's 1/3 of a yard of pre-made binding. Has to be, because these right here are only 4 by 4. They're tiny little things. But I think it would be a cute little project to make, between projects when you need to just kind of rest your mind. And then these, it's called a hook. Let's see, what is it called? You use hook and loop tape to create a handy wrap that will contain a cord for an iron or sewing machine. It's shaped like this. That's the shape of it. And then you cut those corners off and fold up one end, and then put your Velcro on the inside there. Oh, here's a better picture of it right here. So you stick your cord, you roll your cord up and then slide it in there and then close it down. So I can see how that would be helpful. Like if you go to a retreat or to a sew session at your quilt store or whatever, have something pretty around your cords, and that'll keep them in place and also look nice. So that was some things that I found in the American Patchwork and Quilting I wanted to share with you. But for now, I think that is all I have to share with you. Let me know in the comments if you're also doing this now, if you're just now starting, or even if you haven't just now started, but rather if you're doing this. I'd like to know how many of you are doing this, and maybe we can kind of collaborate a little bit on it to keep everything straight. And I mean, it's star blocks, you know, it's not super difficult, but I don't know, I just feel, I guess, slightly intimidated by this book. I don't know. Do you get that way? Do some things just kind of intimidate you and stop you in your tracks? Well, I haven't stopped in my tracks. I'm moving along, albeit slowly, but I'm going to get caught up. Let's see, this is April, so I need 1, 2, 3. After I get this one done, I'll have 3 more before I'm caught up to April, and then I'll still be slightly behind because by the time I get that far, I'll probably be at the end of April, and I will need to do April, but I will be in May, so it'll take me a couple of months to get caught up. So, all right, I think that's all I have for you today. I wish you a productive week of sewing, and let me know what you're working on. If you've got a new exciting project, I'd love to hear about it. And you guys all read the comments too, because there's a lot of neat stuff down in the comments sometimes. If you don't already, take a peek at them, because it's fun to find out what everybody's doing and what everybody's interested in. And yeah, we just all sew together here at Lessons Learned and learn from each other and encourage one another. So thank you for doing that, and it's a great encouragement to me, and I hope that I'm an encouragement to you as well. So let's sew a little bit every day if we can, even if you work full time. Put in a few minutes every day after work, after dinner or whatever, or while dinner is in the oven, just run and sew a little bit, and it's good for you. And I hope that you have fun doing it, and you feel a sense of satisfaction that I feel when I have some moments to sew during the day. So have a great week, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday for part 2 of the Cactus Pot on Point. And again on Friday for Finish It Friday. And we'll see you soon. Bye.